this has been a very big week, obviously, the big meeting at the big town hall. Were you there, Sir Bruce?
No, I wasn't. I was here in Wellington.
But you've been everywhere since, it seems, on the radio, on the TV. Does it feel like you haven't left the job yet?
Yeah, a little bit like that, yeah.
Can I ask you, first of all, I mean, why you have been fronting for the last week, last week, and not the current head of the GCSB?
You'd have to ask him that, but the reason I've been fronting is because the media asked me to front, and basically I think it's an important issue, and I was asked, and I thought, well, why the hell not? Have some fun.
Have some fun. Very good. Speaking of fun, are we being mass surveilled, New Zealand? Are we subject to mass surveillance at the moment?
Well, I hope not. No, we're not. No. Well, at the moment, I can't actually. I left 4 years ago. I can say at the end of 2010, when I left, the answer was absolutely categorically no. We didn't have the capability of doing it.
Is it possible in the last 4 years since you left, things have changed?
Oh, I've got a fan up the back. That's great. Well, everything's possible. I'd be surprised if things haven't moved on. It would be silly in these technological days. And of course, the threat of cyber warfare, all of that has advanced enormously since I left.
John Key said today that we are, New Zealanders, we are subject to this X-Key score. We could, look up that lady over there's data if we want to. Is that your understanding?
What have you done wrong?
So you go with a nothing to fear, nothing to hide kind of thing?
I'm nothing to fear, nothing to hide, and I don't make comment on specific operations, but I am a bit worried about that lady over there now.
Thank you very much, Sir Bruce. We'll go back to the panel. We've got another guest soon. Thank you, Sir Bruce Ferguson.
All right, we'll go back to Damien very, very soon for another opinion. But Peter Dunn, it was you that helped the new spy laws pass. If you knew now what you knew back then, would you have changed your mind?
Well, I think we were talking about two different things. The legislation that I was part of putting together was to provide a better regulatory environment for the GCSB to ensure that there was greater accountability, more transparency, etc. That's all happened, and we've now got regular 5-yearly reviews of both the GCSB and the SIS in law.
That doesn't give any comfort to the people of New Zealand who feels, who Edward Snowden says, we are being watched.
Well, hang on, I think
every email, every phone call, Facebook, Amazon, they know.
Well, I think the issue that's arisen this week is actually not about the activities of the GCSB, but the activities of other agencies like the NSA,
And are you concerned about that?
If those allegations are correct, if there are external powers spying on New Zealanders, I'd be very concerned.
All right, Marama Davidson, what do you think about this?
No, listen, John Key needs to start being truthful and answer the fact whether our surveillance powers are being abused. I worked at the Human Rights Commission for 10 years. We know that surveillance abuses happen to groups purely because of dissent. So environmental groups, Indigenous groups, Māori here in Aotearoa. We need to start asking questions, and our privacy is a fundamental issue. The Green Party will do an independent review of our spy agencies. We will roll back the legislation that was punched through to extend those powers through GCSB and TICS, and we will shut down the Waihopai and Tangimoana spy bases. Privacy is absolutely important to a democracy.
All right. Alistair Scott, you heard what you said there. What do you make of what Marama Davidson said?
Look, we need to keep ourselves safe. We need to keep ourselves safe. There's no mass surveillance. But if we want to be safe, we want to understand where risks are involved with terrorists.
Edward Snowden said this is not actually about terrorism. This is about economic gain. It's about power. It's about spying on our neighbours.
You know what it is? This is a huge distraction from what is important. What is important is jobs and the opportunity for families to get on and improve themselves.
All right, Calvin, what do you see of Te Tokoro? Is it a huge distraction?
Well, it is a distraction from the issues up north, like I said about housing and about roading and all those other issues, but there are real questions that need to be answered. Sir Bruce said that the GCSB has been trained in mass surveillance, that X-Key score thing. Why would they be trained in it if they're not prepared to use it? So there are real questions to be asked, and the Labour Party wants a review of our security systems and also to change our legislation around the GCSB.
Adrian Leeson was one of the men who broke into the Waihopai spy base, cut it and showed us what was underneath those big bubbles. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Damien.
First of all, do you think mass surveillance is happening and is a problem?
Yes, it's happening and it's a problem. But it's a small problem in relation to the much bigger problems that Prime Minister John Key informed us about this year on the 19th of May. He told New Zealand that the GCSB is providing intelligence, real-time intelligence to the US drone program in Afghanistan and Pakistan, which has resulted in one province, 900 women and children have been murdered in one province of Pakistan by drones, with intelligence provided by John Key's GCSB. Now, Mr. Duns talks about transparency. That's lacking transparency. And when was New Zealand at war with Pakistan? And when does our government get involved in harming innocent women and children?
And that was part of your reasoning for breaking into Wahapa in the first place, was it?
That was totally our reason. In Iraq, we know that the body count, 800,000 civilians. Why? Because of faulty technology from George Bush and his henchmen. This is real people. These are mums and dads and kids, and this war is being ramped up, and we're going to do it all over again unless we get a change of government who's going to stand up and say no more following in Americans' military footsteps.
Thank you very much for coming along. Great.
All right, so what do you make of that, Peter Dunn? What do you make of that? And also, what do you make of people around the world who say that whatever you think about Edward Snowden, what he has, the evidence he has, cannot be refuted. He tells the absolute truth.
I've actually found the material provided by Greenwald to be far more credible and detailed, because he's gone into a lot of detail. Snowden's comments the other night were more of a narrative than anything else. I think there are issues that need to be looked at. I think that we've seen in other countries, for instance, the Germans spying on the Americans as allies. This is not an unusual situation. I think there are issues there that need to be looked at, which go well beyond the scope of our GCSB's activity.
Okay, Marama, what would happen? What do you think would happen if it was found out that New Zealand, in fact, was spying on some of our ASEAN neighbours?
You know, this is the thing though. Sir Bruce can't even equivocally answer what is happening for New Zealanders, how badly our privacy has been intruded into. Well, like Russell Norman said, he'd get more answers from Glenn Greenwald. Russell Norman is on the Intelligence and Security Committee, but found out more from Glenn Greenwald than he has sitting on that committee. We deserve a right to know exactly what is happening to us, as well as who we're intruding on.
We deserve to be safe.
Alistair?
We deserve to be safe. We deserve to be
Dissent
protected.
is not about safety.
If you're not doing anything wrong, what's your problem?
No, that's not right.
It's all about.
No, that's not right at all. Who defines wrong?
That line was
Who
McCarthy, right?
defines wrong? Who defines what is wrong? Indigenous people around the world have stood up purely to protect their lands. That is not wrong, but because of the people in power disagree with them, they are intruded upon. It is not about who defines what is wrong, Alistair.
All right, Kelvin Davis, that question there. If you're not doing anything wrong, then what's the problem? To paraphrase, what do you think?
I think that's a silly response from our man here. But, you know, what I'm really worried about is that they said that there's some suspicious building up in the north there, and I'm scared they're going to try and blame us Maoris from up north. Here, we've got these hidden places around Taitokoro, but we call them maimais.
All right. What about in the audience, Damien? What's the feeling in the audience of this particular issue? What do you reckon?
Should we start with a little show of hands? Who's concerned about mass surveillance? Who thinks? And those of you that agree with the nothing to hide, nothing to fear, which I think was McCarthy, said that. Okay, so we've got. Keep your. Those of you that who's got something? Who's concerned? Put your hands up again. Over here. All right. This chap, right up the way up here. Why are you concerned, sir? You wear a suit, you don't do anything wrong.
It doesn't matter. If I decide that I need to call a suicide prevention line, if I get a test for STD, right? If I call my doctor after that, yeah, the fact that we've got the metadata means that they don't know what I talked to the suicide prevention line about. They don't know that I spoke to my doctor about an STD. But the metadata says there's a pretty decent chance that it has happened, right? Privacy is the essential right of a citizen. We must be able to exist, and we must be able to have our own opinions and our own private thoughts.
Are you on Facebook?
I am, but
Are you on Twitter?
I'm not.
Are you on Google?
You
have Gmail?
I've got Gmail.
Are you aware of all the rights you've signed away on those things?
Yep, I am. But Gmail is convenient. Right, and it's based in the US, and absolutely, the data that I put in there, that's my choice to put it there. But my choice, if I decide to call a suicide prevention line at 2 in the morning, I do not need the world knowing that.